Good evening, everyone, and welcome to In the Know with CaT Bobino. And today, my extra special guest is coming all the way from the East Coast, and that's going to be Carlee Jackson. And she is the co-founder of Minorities in Shark Science, and she is also the director of communications. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, CaT. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So, can you tell us a little bit about Minorities in Shark Science?
Yes, so Minorities in Shark Science, or MISS for short, we're an organization created by 4 Black women shark scientists. So back in the summer of 2020, when a lot of the civil unrest was happening, we all kind of wanted to do something to, make us feel like we're just doing something, because we all felt a little helpless at that time. And we met each other through Twitter, and that was the first time each of us had ever seen another Black woman in the field of shark science. So and to put it in perspective, I was a grad student, so this is my 7th year of education, and another girl, same boat. And yeah, so we were very happy, and we decided to make a club, and this club turned into an organization, and it has grown a lot. So the purpose of Minorities in Shark Science is to uplift and highlight diverse voices in the field of shark science, because it is a very white, male dominant field. And there's little to no representation. So we wanted to take it upon ourselves to uplift and highlight those diverse voices already in the field, and also encourage more to come into the field and kind of create a safe space for women of color. So right now we have over 250 members. They're all women of color who are interested in shark science or already in the field of shark science at various stages in their career or education. And they're from, I think, almost 20 different countries. So they kind of showed, and to put it in perspective, we started in June. So we've barely been around for it's been about 8 months now. But yeah, it kind of showed us that this was something that was needed in our field, and we got a lot of support right off the bat, and we have a lot of things planned for the future.
That is absolutely amazing. And just a reminder for anyone who's going to be listening later on, we are live on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube simultaneously. And if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in. We will see them. So one of the first things is Nicole Jackson, and she said dope, as well as hi, last name twins. Yay.
Jackson is an amazing last name.
Yes. And Nicole, I believe, is in natural sciences as well. And so she is all about the wildlife and animals. No, she's not in shark science. I know that, but I do know that she's out there in science. But that's cool. Really cool. I didn't realize that you guys were so fairly new.
Yes, we are very new. We launched on Juneteenth, so June 19th last year. Yes. Had some significance with the anniversary date. And yeah, as soon as we launched, I think our first weekend, we raised an insane amount of money I think we reached a little bit over 80% of our yearly goal in that one weekend, and our yearly goal was $25,000, and we ended up making almost double that in the last half of last year. So we got a lot of support, and like I said, it kind of showed us that this was needed, and it's something that our community just is a good addition to the shark science community.
Awesome. All right, so Nicole, she came back, and she is a black birder and environmental educator. I knew she was in it.
Her name sounds so familiar. I feel like
I see her all the time on Facebook doing her nature walks. So Shout out to
Awesome.
Nicole.
I'm sure we've crossed paths on social media, probably.
I'm sure you have. So, how did you get into shark science?
So I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. So just to put that in perspective, far away from the ocean and anything ocean related. But when I was about 6 years old, I remember seeing this book on sharks. It was just a picture of a shark, this like very small like paperback book. And I remember begging my mom, I was like, I just want to read that book. Like, can you buy that book for me? We were at like a book fair and she bought it for me. And I read it and just immediately was hooked. Like, I really can't remember exactly what it was about sharks that got me hooked, but it was like a mixture of fear and awe. Just like, wow, these animals are just so cool. They're just so awesome. And they were very, kind of learned how misunderstood they were, and also how like they just have such cool like little superpowers that are special to sharks. And and it stuck with me throughout like my whole life. Like I started saying like I want to work with sharks, I want to be on Shark Week, I want to do marine biology. And my parents were like, all right, they're very supportive, so I was very thankful for that.
Okay.
Yeah. They're just like, all right, let's see if it sticks. And it stuck all the way through high school, and they're like, if this is what you want to do, like you better go for it and do it. So yeah, I got interested in shark science at a young age. It stayed with me, and I didn't really get into shark research until about like the last semester of my senior year. And mostly because I was an athlete and, I was chained to the NCAA and didn't have a lot of time, extra time. But yeah, so I've been working with sharks ever since I started grad school. So
that's awesome. So what shark do you work on that you do research on?
My specific research in grad school was with nurse sharks.
Okay.
So yeah, I always say they're not very sharky looking, but they're the cutest little sharks. I don't know. I love them.
And what was your research project on?
So I looked at the effects of provisioning tourism. So provisioning is feeding. So feeding tourism on nurse sharks in a small island in Belize. So I was in Belize for 2 months. Yes.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was very, very cool. It was a lot of fun and it was a lot of work, but I went to look how that practice was affecting their behavior and just their abundance and different things like that. So.
All right. So Nicole has a question for you. She says, what's some advice you've given to people of color or Black people or youth that want to get into this type of research but have a fear of water?
Yeah, so sometimes it's hard for me to empathize with people who have a fear of water because I've like known how to swim since I was 4. Like my parents had made me get swim lessons because they were like, you're going to drown if you keep jumping in the water and you don't know how to swim. But my advice for people who are scared of water, one is to try out swim lessons. That's always what I tell people, just go get comfortable in the water, because usually you have a fear of water because you don't know how to swim and you have this fear that you're just going to drown and everything is just, you're going to die. But once you get into swim lessons, even for adults, like I've taught adults how to swim, and once you get comfortable and get over that fear and figure out like, all right, I am safe, I'm not going to drown because I'm standing up in this water, that gets you a little bit more comfortable. But if that doesn't work out, because sometimes it doesn't, there's a lot of different ways that there's a lot of different pathways in marine biology and shark research where you don't even have to look at a boat. Like you can just be in a lab doing genetic research or stable isotope research, and there's just so many different types of research you can do with sharks and other marine animals that are in a lab, and you don't even have to be in the water.
She had a caveat, which was and or sharks.
Yeah, so honestly, I think that the more I educate people on sharks, the less their fear kind of goes down, because the more you learn about something, the more you start appreciating its role in the environment, and you kind of realize like, they're just really misunderstood animals, and your chances of even like getting killed by a shark, you have especially here in Florida, you have more of a chance of getting struck by lightning and dying than by getting killed by a shark. So it's,
Right.
but we're always scared of things that we don't know. We're scared of the
Mm-hmm.
unknown and scared of things that, are just completely alien to us. But I'd suggest learning more about sharks, and that kind of helps you get over a fear of sharks.
Yes. I've told my partner before that I would love to do a shark dive, like in the cage, and
Mm-hmm.
do a shark dive. And he thinks I am crazy for wanting to do that, and I'm like, well, they're not interested in me, they're just gonna more or less swim around me. We have the scary movies that say they're going to attack the cage. And, that may happen 1% of the time, but all in all, they're just gonna swim.
Yeah, and usually they're honestly more scared of us, even the bigger sharks. Like I've been in the water with some big sharks and out of a cage, and they kind of look at you like, "Oh my gosh, what are you? Like you're an alien," and they're just like, "Oh, get away from me!" Like, "Oh," but like we're scared of them. They're probably equally or even more scared of us. So.
Right. Well, that leads into a next question. What are these big sharks you swim with out of the cage?
Yeah, so I swam in the Bahamas, specifically Bimini, with some great hammerheads. So they were, I think the biggest one there was probably around like 12 feet or so. And
12 feet hammerhead.
yeah, and
Wow.
they're absolutely gorgeous animals. Like at first, like I won't lie, I was a little nervous. I was like, like, what's going on? But I had a lot of people around me, and like I said, once you figure out that they are really like just so not interested in you, it's not like they're coming like looking at you. Oh, what's this snack? They're kind of like, oh, nope, I am staying away from you.
Yeah,
So
they're
yeah,
more like, you're not my normal prey. I don't want nothing to do with you.
exactly.
Got your
Yeah.
way.
So they just swim away. But it's a very, I would say also a very humbling experience, because you kind of realize how small you are. You're
Yeah.
just like, ooh, I am very small and insignificant in this water right now. And it also kind of gives you more respect for the animals, because, at any given moment you could, for some random reason, what if the shark was like, ooh, I'm going to eat you? Like it could do that, but it's not going to, because it just, you get a lot more respect for the animals, I would say.
I could see that. Like, I love the water. I never got into the research aspect of water, but I love the water. And one of the things I would love to swim with, which is not really a shark, is a whale shark.
Yes.
And
They're
they
100%
are.
sharks. Yes.
Okay. See, learn something new. Yes, I want to do the whale shark because they're humongous. But
Oh, they're beautiful. Yeah. That's on my bucket list too. Whale sharks. Whale sharks are cool.
okay. Oh, looks like we have another question. And that is, what are some other common misconceptions about sharks you've heard?
Yes. So other misconceptions is that sharks, they can like smell your blood from miles away. And it's really funny because they really can't smell human blood. They've actually done an experiment with this. But if you really think about it, like evolutionary, sharks really, it's kind of like, why would they be
Why would they
able
know what
to,
our blood smells like?
yeah, why would they know what our blood smells like, and why would it smell good to them? Why would they want to pursue that? So, and also with the whole like miles away, really like those, same with us, those particles have to reach our nose. And really it's like, it doesn't really work that way with the shark. A lot of their senses work more, what is the word? Like short distance, not long distance. I mean, it depends on the shark, but for the most part, a lot of the shark senses, the prey has to be pretty close to them for their senses to really be like firing, and like they're sensing everything. So they're not gonna, if you're in the water and your heart is beating really fast, like a shark isn't gonna be like, ooh, there's prey, like scared around. I'm gonna come look for
Okay,
it.
this is gonna this some people might find this a little nasty, but whatever. What about period blood? I've heard
Yeah,
that one.
they definitely can't smell that. Yeah, that's like, it's
Okay.
the, no, there was something that I read about why specifically like they can't like, but no, yeah, they can't smell period blood. So you can get in the ocean with a tampon on and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I know I've heard that misconception
Yes.
before, but I didn't realize that they couldn't smell our blood,
Yeah.
which is very interesting. That's a new one for me. So, this is why I do the podcast. I get to learn so many new amazing things from amazing people.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So I know you get this question. I'm sure you get this question a lot, but what is your favorite shark?
My favorite shark are nurse sharks, and I'm biased because they were like the first shark that my research really focused on, and they're also they're so underrated. I don't know. They're just people are like, oh, like nurse sharks. Oh, we see them all the time, like still on the bottom. But I don't know. Every time I see a nurse shark, I get really excited because they're really cool. They're not a very big species of shark, but they're very chill. They'll sit at the bottom. They don't really care that you're around unless you get too close to them. They'll swim away. But they sit at the bottom. They have this really cool way of feeding, like it's called suction feeding. So their mouth, they just like suck food in, and it creates literally negative pressure. So they have the like one of the fastest prey capture times of like any animal, and I think of all the sharks. But yeah, they're really cool. I think they're really cute. Like if you look at a picture of a nurse sharks are pretty cute.
Yeah, I think I've seen video of them feeding, which is really, really cool because it's just like real quick,
And
like
if
they have
you
to really slow it down.
You can hear them feeding too. You can hear that like popping noise that they make when they suck up the food, especially if they're at the surface and someone's like feeding them fish at the surface.
So there's a lot of tourism about feeding the nurse sharks.
Yes, especially in like Caribbean countries like Belize and Bahamas and that whole area right there. Nurse sharks are like very abundant there, and they're very easy to feed. Like I said, they're pretty lazy. They just lay at the bottom, and you put a piece of food there, they'll be like, all right, like we'll eat it. And they learn pretty quickly. There's nurse sharks are in aquarium, or they're popular in aquaria and big aquariums, and it's easy to train them because they come very accustomed to repeated actions. So they get habituated pretty easily. So a lot of tour guides, they'll go out and just feed them in the wild, and it becomes a tour spot because the nurse sharks know that they're going to be fed in this area, so they keep coming to this area to be fed.
That sounds like me. As long as you offer me food, I will keep coming back.
Exactly. Yep. Sounds about right.
All right. Nicole asks, what species of shark are endangered and why?
Yes. So I would say I think about 30% of all shark species are endangered. And the first one that comes to mind is the great hammerhead. They are endangered. And a lot of the times sharks become endangered because of fishing regulations. So great hammerheads are not protected, and I don't think they're protected in Florida water, so you can fish for a great hammerhead. Also, they're popular in like the finning industry because they have what is the word? Like they have a very tall dorsal fin. That is like one way you know it's a great hammerhead is if that dorsal fin is just gigantic. And yeah, they get stressed out very easily. So even if they are caught on a line and then released, a lot of the times they have a high mortality rate after they're caught. We don't really know. Well, we kind of know why they get so stressed out. They build up a lot of lactic acid when they're struggling against the line, and unfortunately, their bodies just can't handle that amount of stress. So sometimes it doesn't work out for them at the end. But yeah, there's them, and also I believe I think the mako shark is endangered. They're my second favorite shark, by the way.
Yeah, they are really amazing sharks.
Yes, they're pretty cool. But also finning industry, fishing industry, and just unsustainable fishing of them, and also just all around with all of these shark species, a lot of like pollution in the water. So a lot of their habitats are being destroyed from different pollution, and getting caught in like ghost nets and things like that. It's easy for hammerheads to do that because they just have this really awkward head that gets caught in random things.
Right.
But yeah. And yeah. Oh, and then another one I just thought of, this will be my last one, is the sawfish. It's not a shark, but it is a type of ray. And they have this gigantic saw on their face. Their nose is a saw. And they are like critically endangered. Their habitat is being destroyed over here in the Keys and southern Florida. And because they have this giant nose, like they just get caught in everything. So if you have fishing lines out, like gill nets or any type of nets out, they just get caught and just wrapped up in them. And yeah, and it's also their saw is a trophy. And I don't know when they became protected, but they are a protected species. You can't catch them now. But like before, like they were being fished for their saws or their rostrum and getting caught in a lot of lines. So they've got it. They got it kind of bad.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Some of those evolutionary traits are now getting caught into human activity, unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back to something you had said earlier, and that was in undergrad you couldn't do a lot because of sports. So what sport were you in?
I was a swimmer. Surprise.
Surprise.
Yeah, so I swam. I've been swimming since I was like 5, 6 years old, and I did it all the way through college. Swam competitively, and yeah, I was Division 1, and I was pretty good at it. And I was pretty done though after I was like, I'm good. Like my body was like, give it up.
Yeah, no, I get that. My niece ran track from like 5 until college, and she was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm done with this.
It's a lot, especially when you start at such a young age. You're just over it. You're like, I want to live my life.
I get it. So with all the swimming and your shark research, are you into scuba diving?
Yes, I got my scuba diving certification. It was my graduation gift from my parents after I graduated from college. So I started then, and then I lifeguard on the side, and my boss, he is a dive instructor and dive master and has all this dive gear. So I got back into diving with him, and we dive a lot, and it's a lot of fun. I love scuba diving.
Wow. Okay. That's really good. You know, I had these two ladies on the show a couple weeks ago, and they do their nonprofit works with turning old oil rigs into sustainable habitats for marine life.
That's cool.
And so that was the very first time I learned about research scuba, and it was another scuba, but basically they had to their training was, or their graduation is that they were put out in the ocean at night and they had to come to shore.
Wow.
Have you gone that far into
No,
scuba diving?
Definitely not. I don't think I ever will. My highest is advanced, and we had to do a night dive, but I wasn't by myself. And then we had to do like a navigation dive, but I just remember the water was really murky, and the dive master like left me and was like, all right, find your way back. I was like, oh my God. But it was daylight, so it wasn't as stressful as at night. Yeah, no, you would not catch me doing that.
It reminds me, like you said, you're all about the Shark Week. Excuse me. And it reminds me of all the video you would see. And I'm like, oh yeah, well somebody I guess was in the water.
Exactly. Yeah.
Doing all of that. But that was it. Yeah. So Nicole is enjoying this show. Thanks, Nicole. She said she is learning all the things. And this is all so fascinating. Do shark species have similar parenting styles?
That's a simple question. There is no parenting style for any shark species. They either lay the eggs and leave, or they have the babies, and hopefully the babies get away without getting eaten.
Yes. There are some species. Sorry, I'm pretty sure you can hear my kid in the background. He is upset right now. But yeah, there are species who have live births, right? But they don't take care of them.
No, like I said, the the babies are trying to get away so they don't get eaten.
Or do they get eaten by mom sometimes?
Yeah, they could get eaten by mom. Yeah, it's strange, but it's a shark world out there. No matter what,
Apparently
I guess.
so. Apparently so. It's a shark eat shark world. I am not mad. I don't want no parts of it, but I
Yes.
am not mad at that.
But yeah, I guess like they do have similar parenting styles. All of them just don't do anything with their kids. Yeah, peace out.
They're
Nothing to do
all
with
the same. They're like, you've been born, go live your life.
Yes.
I get it. But so when you were in undergrad, what were you studying?
My major was biology. So at the time, my school didn't have a marine biology major, but just biology. And the last semester of my senior year, I did a program called Semester by the Sea. So I did the last parts of my credits there, and it was all marine biology classes, all field work related things. And it was kind of the first time I had really gotten into marine science and like gotten a feel and a look at like what I really wanted to do. It also confirmed like, all right, I want to do this. This is fun. I like being dirty and in the water and doing stuff on the boats and also writing research papers, even though they sucked. But
I gotta say, that's my least favorite thing about science is writing the paper.
That's definitely my least favorite. I don't love it, but I was like, you know what? I can accept it as a part of the career. I'll get over it.
Of my journey to what I really want to do. I have to write it all down in a very specific way.
Yep.
It's not my favorite, but I totally understand. So how was Semester by the Sea? How did that go? Tell me about the program.
Yeah, so it was basically a program where it was based at the Harbor Branch campus of my school. So I went to Florida Atlantic University. It's based in Boca Raton, which is about 30 minutes north of where I am now in Fort Lauderdale. And then Harbor Branch was in Fort Pierce, and that's about an hour and a half north of where Boca was. So it literally was like on I think it was a nature preserve, and like the campus was right on the canal, and I'd have lunch on the canal and like see dolphins swimming by and like manatees. Wow. It was really cool. Yeah. And then right behind the school was the Indian River Lagoon. That's where a lot of the research was done. And it was just a really cool program. I actually stayed in the housing there. So it was just like its own little college campus. And all of the courses that I took were, like marine ecology, marine science, like aquaculture, ocean exploration, really, and everything was hands-on. So all the labs for the classes were, we would go out, collect samples, bring them back and identify them, or do whatever experiment or whatever we're doing on them. I would say my favorite class was the ocean exploration course, and it was a 3-day field course on a boat. And we just learned how to do research on a boat. And we did a lot of different types of techniques. So dredging, CPDs, plankton trawls. What else did we do? Like other trawls, like otter trawls, and picking up fish and identifying fish. And through that, each of us had to, or each group had to pick a research project to focus on during the trip. So just like basically based on whatever we were catching, like what kind of project do you want to make off of what we're catching? And me and my partner decided to look at commensalism and sponges. So what was living in sponges? Because on a lot of our trawls, we would just pick up sponges and we're like, all right, let's cut into them and see what's living in them. Now, I will say that whole experience made me hate sponges. I was like, I will never work with sponges ever again because I don't know.
What did they do to you?
Sponges, for one, they have spicules, and they're microscopic, like glass shards, basically. That's how I can describe it. So you can't touch a sponge without it hurting a lot. And there's something in the sponge that I was allergic to, and like everything on me just like broke out, and I was like, this is not it. But there were some cool things living in the sponges. We had a cool project out of it. There were little like, what are they called? Like snapping shrimp, pistol shrimp. That's what they're called. And they bit me once, and that hurt. It's just a lot that I did not like
Wow.
from the sponges. I was like, I'm over sponges. But there was some cool stuff still living in the sponges, and we had a cool project out of it, and I would say that was a course that made me realize that I like being on boats. I like doing field work. I like coming up with research projects and figuring out a question or figuring out how to answer a question. So yeah, I'd say the whole semester at the sea by the sea was very beneficial for my career because it kind of just increased my passion for the field and kind of solidified like, all right, I like this. This is what I'm going to do.
That's really cool. Yeah. It's really cool. And I have to say, I'm a little jealous. It sounds like fun. I know it's school, fun. But it also sounds like fun. Being out on a research boat, or just eating lunch and seeing dolphins. Like a little tear came to my eye because of jealousy when you said that. But it's a good jealousy. I mean, I'm going to always be rah-rah for you, but I'm still jealous of the fact that you got to do that.
I don't blame you. No. I'd be jealous too if I didn't do it, honestly.
But yeah, I'm slightly jealous of all of it. Shark research in Belize, all of it. But how long have you been on a boat? Like, what's your longest time being on a research boat?
I'm trying to think. So prior to Semester by the Sea, I did do a program on a tall ship where we did freshwater research in the Great Lakes. That was like a whole different experience, very, very different because you were living on this tall ship with the crew, but you were the science crew, but you're the science crew and part of the tall ship crew. And this is a big tall ship. Like this was, I think, used back in the Civil War or something like that. And
oh wow, okay.
It is large. There's lots of you have to climb up the masts and bring the stuff in. And anyways, I think the longest we were on that boat was probably for like a week and a half straight. We were sailing, can't remember from what city to what city, but we were sailing and it was a full week and some days on that boat. And it was a long time, but like honestly, I was okay with it because like I said, I like being on boats and probably like the only downside was like, oh, like I don't have like internet or something, but you get over that eventually. The only other thing is the what is it called? Like showering. That yeah. Showers are like not a thing on boats. If you're on a boat for that long and it doesn't have a shower, you're like, well, guess we're just gonna have to. I think we had like lake showers. They would like connect the hose from the lake. I was like, oh, like there's bacteria in there. All right, no thank you. I'd rather just be a little musty.
No, I got the opportunity to get it on a research boat with this program called STEM Seas. So they take these big research boats that's always out for months at a time. And when they're transferring the boat from one station to another, they let students get on board. And so we were able to sail for a week in Alaska. And we actually had showers, thank God. And the food was actually pretty good. There was no internet, but we did hit really rough waters. And I don't know if I ever told this. I know people have heard that I've been on a boat before, but I don't know if I ever told this story. But I was in the shower when we hit the rough waters, and I literally bounced out of the shower.
Oh my God.
We hit some water, and I was like, boo, right out of the shower onto the ground, and literally had to re-shower.
Oh my God. That sounds quite eventful, and that's a good story to tell. I don't know. You got a good story. I don't know.
That wasn't fun because my roommate had really long hair and I like slid across the floor in her hair.
Oh, ew.
It was gross. But I just took another shower and went to sleep. So
okay, yeah, just go to sleep, and
that's all you can do after that is take a nap.
Exactly.
So Nicole said or asked, what are some courses that would be helpful for high school or college students to take that are not science related to become a shark researcher?
Yes, that's a good question. I would say taking writing classes is a good courses are good courses to take, because I mean, unless you just want to be like the technician fieldwork part of things, you're gonna have to write something in science. You're just gonna have to write. That was
Mm-hmm.
another realization. I was like, oh, all this writing, what is this? But writing and also I think like math classes are probably a good idea as well. Um, like statistics, there's a lot of statistics in shark research and science in general. Another thing
I was
that
about
I
to
was
say in
like, I did
science in
not.
general,
I was like,
statistics, yeah.
no one told me this before I got in here. As I'm like crying with R every day. No, um, but yeah, writing and like math and statistics classes, those are good classes to take. And yeah, and if you end up not being a good writer or not being mad at or good at math, like that's okay. Like just get extra help, or that's why you collaborate with people who are good at those things.
And that's a really good question, Nicole. I don't think anyone's ever asked that question before. Usually, when we're talking about science or STEM, is the classes outside of
Mm-hmm.
science that you would have to take. I would also say, I mean, you don't have to be a great writer, but I would say English, an English class, just,
Yeah,
you know.
that is
And
true.
actually, when I went to undergrad, I took a Latin course,
I
and that
was
was
just
really
thinking
good.
that. I was like, Latin probably was a good. Yep.
It's a really good class to learn so that you get a better understanding of the Latin terms in science, all the prefixes and stuff. It kind of helps out later on when you're doing science. So I would say that. She also said that pistol shrimp are so cool.
They're
They
cool
are
until
really
they
cool.
bite you or whatever. I think it's like a little claw. They
Yeah,
nipped me.
they punch the ground to like
Yeah,
swim
they make
off
like
and
a
stuff.
weird like sonic. They like make a miniature sonic boom or something. It's
It's
crazy.
something like that. They're really well known for their how they swim away, and I think it is their claws where they just like hit boom. And
Mhm.
I'm not surprised that it hurts. Is what
Yes,
my bottom line is. Not
they are
surprised.
cool and they're pretty too. Some of them come in cool little colors.
Hmm. So we're going to circle back and go back to Miss, which is Minorities in Shark Science, and you're the Director of Communications. And so, what does that title mean? What do you do?
Yeah, so I handle a lot of the social media stuff that we do, the communications between people who want to meet with us. So I help with scheduling, and also like supporter engagement, trying to get our supporters more engaged, both in social media and off social media, just like donors and things like that. But yeah, it's kind of honestly, I would say with the four of us, we try to evenly distribute certain things. So I know my title is communications, but maybe one day I'll be doing something else because someone else can't do it. I don't know. So it's a broad term, but I would say it's a broad title. But for the most part, I mostly do social media, supporter engagement, and a lot of the scheduling that we do. So.
Awesome, cool. And you said all of you met on Twitter, and how did that happen? Where everybody, all four of you talking about sharks, and you just was like, "Oh, hey."
Yeah, so this was directly related to the Chris Cooper incident where the lady called the cops on him for bird watching. Love it.
Right.
So there was a hashtag on Twitter that came out called hashtag Black in Nature.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of Black people were showing themselves out in nature, doing either nature related jobs or just, casual bird watching or doing whatever, walking around in nature. And, just showcasing that we are Black. We are not stereotypically like scared of nature or we don't know what is around us. We are in nature and we love it. So I did a hashtag. I did the hashtag and just post pictures of me with sharks and turtles and everything. And it got like a whole lot. Like I started with like 250 followers and ended like that day, probably with almost like 4,000 followers. Like, it was crazy. And
Wow.
same. And so from that, Jasmine, Jada, and Amani, like, they all, you know, they saw the post. I saw their post because they had also done the hashtag Black in Nature. And it was like, oh my gosh, sharks, you're a Black girl and you're with sharks? What is going
Yeah.
on? So we all like were mentioning each other, like, you know, chatting under our posts, and we were like, oh my gosh, we should start a club, and, you know, just sarcastically. And then we were like, all right, like, let's all hop on a Zoom call because this will be really fun. And one of my mentors, who also mentored one of the other, Amani, she was like, oh, like, if you guys want to have a club meeting on our boat, like, you're welcome to. And we're like, okay. And so we all met on Zoom, talked about like kind of how we felt, and, you know, like, if we really wanted to start a club, or, you know, just get some ideas of what we can do to make it so that other people wouldn't feel the same way we did, which was alone for the majority of our career.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that, like, the idea of Miss was born, and the club meeting on the boat is actually our Miss workshop. So we wanted to create shark research workshops that were free of charge for women of color interested in shark research. So those are actually happening next weekend and the weekend after. So our idea is coming into fruition. Yes. So, but the key thing was, we wanted something, the biggest barrier, you know, to a lot of people of color in this field is financially, because in marine science, at least, and I'm sure a lot of other science fields, you have to pay for a lot of experience. And, you know, if you don't have experience, you're not valuable or whatever, you know, in the field.
Right.
And we wanted to break that barrier because, you know, like, there's a reason why there's not a lot of people that looks like us in this field, and that's a big one. And so we wanted to create a program where we would pay for their housing. Well, the housing and stuff was provided by like our mentor and everything, our fiscal sponsors, which is Field School Miami. They're providing their boat to us and food and everything. So we're very thankful to them. But we're covering all of the travel fees. We're covering all of the other expenses related to, you know, being on the boat and everything. And it's just going to be a free experience for the applicants that applied. And we picked our participants and everything. And yeah, it's going to be really cool. And it's like it was a dream of mine. Like, I think probably either early last year or the year before, I remember talking to one of my mentors and being like, I want to create something where I can get more people that look like me in this field. Like, it was just one of those things where I was like, oh, like, I need to do something. And I was in the middle of grad school at the time. So, you know, it was like, I didn't have time to do anything, but,
Right.
but yeah, so it was just like really awesome for me to be able to do this, because it's just been something I've wanted to do for a long time. And now we have like the support group and everything, and being able to do this is like really cool. I'm really excited.
That's amazing. And so who are you marketing to? Who are the applicants? Are they undergrad, grad, high school?
Yeah, so we wanted people who had zero experience with shark science, and you have to be at least 18, just for insurance purposes right now.
Right. No, I get
at
that.
least 18, so they're probably going to be high school grads or people in undergrad. You have to have a desire to, you know, want to be in shark science, and be a woman of color, and, or, you know, identify as an underrepresented minority. And yeah, that's who we were marketing these workshops to.
Okay. What if you are a STEM nerd with a podcast that likes just to learn things? Can you apply to go to the workshop?
You can apply. You can be a guest. You want to be a guest on the boat?
I would love to be a guest. What if you just want the experience, and, you know, you just love animals and maybe got a degree in animal science and then was like, I want to tell other people's story. What if that was like your background?
I mean, honestly, I do believe that there is one or two applicants who, you know, like, they didn't have shark experience, but they wanted to see if this was something like they really wanted to go into. So I guess we could be in the same boat. There you go. Just be like, I just want to see if you don't want to ruin the shark science.
That's it. What if you've had a dream to swim with sharks and you just had that dream, but you met someone in shark science who have access to boats? Like, how does that work?
Well, I will say that there won't be any swimming with sharks that we'll be doing. It'll just be like working them up on the on the platforms and everything, tagging them and all that good stuff. Won't be any swimming, but I'll take you to some good spots in Florida where we are sure to see at least a nurse shark at the very least.
Well, I'm just going to put this out there for everyone who's listening or watching that I just like experiences. I never was into geology, but I got a great chance to go to New Zealand to learn all about geology, where I got this amazing shirt. So I'm just all about experiences, and then telling my experiences to everyone else and saying, hey, you should check this out because this is what they do. So I'm going to apply next round. I'm going to just stay on your website and apply.
Yes, please do. And our plan is to have like multiple workshops in the future, not just one in the spring. And we also have, like we want to cater to different demographics, like not just undergrads, like people who are, just looking for a career change. Like, they're like, oh, you know what? I'm done with doing this and I want to change my career. Like, all right, let's see if you're interested in shark science.
I'm all for it. I want to make this my career, to be honest, just telling everybody else's story and doing experiences. Like if I can make that a career, I'd be all set. I'd be a happy person.
That sounds like awesome. Yeah, that would be.
You just get to meet all these amazing people. But that's enough about me. Enough about me. So where do you guys see MISS, which is Minorities in Shark Science? Where do you guys see in the next 5 or so years?
Yes, so many big things planned and so many things already planned for this year. I can't even imagine. So we already have like internship programs partnering with different organizations where we'll cover like half of the expenses and the organization will cover half of the other half of expenses. So it's still a free thing for one of our members or, the interns. So we hope to expand that. Right now, we're partnering with 3 different organizations. We have 3 internship programs, but we want to have more. So we want to partner with more organizations who are willing to, partner with us to take an intern and do the half and half thing. So yes, we want to increase that list. We also would like to have like summer camps for minorities who are interested in marine science, not even just shark science. Shark science will be a big component of it, but marine science as a whole is going to be the subject. What else? More workshops, so maybe 1 each season. And also just more of our members. So like the whole purpose of our membership program is to share resources, highlight their voices and uplift their voices as well. So we make sure to send speaking opportunities to them, send all these different types of program opportunities to them. So we hope that a lot of our members have very large platforms and are able to get their voices heard and be the representation that a lot of younger kids don't currently have in shark science. So we really hope that we are fully represented and we see more diversity, or at least more effort to increase diversity in a lot of different programs. And yeah, we have like different educational programs. This year, Jasmine started the Gill Guardians Club, which is it's free courses for high school students all the way up to adults, just learning about sharks and sharks and shark science. And eventually we want to have like an in-person version of that as well as a virtual version. But yeah, so that's everything I can think of off the top of my head right now.
Awesome.
Scholarship programs. We want to give people grants one day, like have enough money to do that, and fund Black kids who want to get into shark science. Here's some college money. Here you go.
Right. Absolutely. So, how can people hear or read more about what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so we are very active on our social media. That's at Miss_Elasmo, so ELASMO, short for Elasmo Brink. And yeah, just Miss_Elasmo for all of our social media. And our website is misselasmo.org. And our website has a lot of the stuff that we're a lot of the upcoming things, a lot of our programs, applications to become a member of Miss or even a Friends of Miss. Our Friends of Miss program is people who don't fit the demographic to be a member of Miss. So you can be a friend of Miss for yearly fee, and just share your support and everything, and still be a part of our program. And then my social media, I do a lot with Miss, and outside of Miss is at Carlee MJ_. That's Carlee with two E's, not a Y. But yeah, that's where you can see all of our stuff. And there's a donate button in misselasmo.org too. So if you want to donate to us, that would be awesome.
Right. Absolutely. So if you're watching now or later, or if you have the opportunity to listen to this podcast on all podcast networks, make sure you go to the website, check them out. They are Minorities in Shark Science. They're doing all these amazing things. They're for African-American women who somehow found each other on Twitter and became this amazing organization and group that's trying to teach more people about shark science. And so, as we are closing, is there any last thing or last words you would like to share for anyone who might be interested in shark science?
Yes. I always like to say, never let anyone tell you what you can't do. I've had that throughout my life, but I just ignore those people. Ignore people who tell you that, because, if you're passionate about something, I always say keep that passion going, because that passion is what's going to get you through the hard times and, the tough times that you might face, like getting into this field, because it is a little difficult. But like I said, keeping the passion up and not letting anyone tell you what you can't do, that is very big. And always dream big and aim for those big dreams.
And as we are about to close, Nicole said, thank you so much for sharing all of this wonderful info and your experiences.
You are very welcome, Nicole, and everyone.
Yes. If you just give me a few minutes, I will close out. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for In the Know with CaT Bobino with my extra special guest, Carlee Jackson, today. Make sure you come back next Wednesday, 6 o'clock, same time, and I will be talking to Ashley Taylor. And we're going to learn a lot more things, amazing things when it comes to STEM. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night.